Welcome to Quantum Revival Tarot. I'm doing kind of a freestyle, and I was hearing another torture video, and I was seeing someone like roll their eyes. I was hearing, I am coming up with a plan to sabotage your claims. I was hearing nail me to the wall, and it was a female character simulation. I was hearing bias, and I was hearing Gina. So I want to pull a couple of cards here for the victims. I'm hearing of arrest. I'm hearing final play. Your day, over elephant, and I've got the five of swords kind of spinning out of the deck here, which really speaks to conflict. It could be something that is a mental conflict. We see a character who's got a very unsettling sort of expression on his face. I think this might be the card of White Dwarf. I'm hearing final. I'm hearing it's over. You're gay, G-A-Y, and this character's kind of got his back to the conflict here while this character is facing it head on. And they look like they're rather angry or in pain. And so I'm hearing misaligned as I was thinking of aligned. These swords are kind of set out in an organized fashion here, as if the organization of this conflict is one that has been by design. Which is really why I am pulling a couple of cards for the victims of sabotage here. I'm hearing arrest. I'm not sure what that's about. I'm hearing you. I am a victim of arrest. First of all, really doesn't make sense unless you're arrested unlawfully. And I'm pulling the death card reverse. Something that it's also been the card of harvest here, is they've got two sides, and two sides for harvesting as a harvesting tool. I'm hearing weapon, but also two sides comes to mind. No, I have not been arrested, but I have been in a surveillance trap for a long time. I've been used for big data operations. I'm hearing manipulation. I'm hearing final play. And so while I'm hearing grandiose, I'm hearing themes apply. While there has been widespread, I'm hearing panic, but across the globe, victims, I'm hearing discovering, I'm hearing torture, I'm hearing ourselves, bypass me. And so there's been victims around the globe that have been suffering from AI, brain-computer interface communications. A lot of us have been used for non-consensual labor, advancement of surveillance, advancement of brain-computer interface technologies, and AI-to-human hybrid warfare is a part of that. So covering up torture has been a huge agenda. I would say that, and I was hearing black market comes to mind, but I was hearing black. I'm hearing blacksmith. Black male artists or specialists. I can't remember if it was artists or specialists. Being able to distort, I'm hearing point of view. The truth. And so while there is, I'm getting widespread panic again. So while there is victims across the globe that are suffering from brain-computer interface, and I'm also seeing grid technologies be a part of this, as the Seven of Wands comes up, and it is in reversal. Reversal has been coming up every time I hear reversal. And so seven, also maybe a little bit of imbalance here. Seven is a number of really neutrality. And I'm seeing every time I see this card of galaxy collision, which is like two forces, almost two galaxies colliding, almost like a car crash in slow motion it's been equated to. But there's kind of, and they kind of sends material out into space, but it really reminds me of a grid communication system. Some of the traps that I'm hearing tortured by, and this is true, have been these grid-like technologies in which AI moves through. As these brain-computer interface connections have built, I'm hearing webs of disclosure, and I'm getting someone like shaking their head no. I'm hearing ridiculous. You said it was, I'm hearing bank trust, and I'm hearing her, disclosure. Needs evidence, I'm hearing torture. And so, grid technologies for these probing victims has been a part of kind of a surveillance, what feels like a quarantine. I'm hearing lawful mannerisms. And so it has been these huge probing operations that have led right into surveillance operations that are so, I'm getting entangled, and I'm hearing neatly, disclose, and I'm getting like to the present, I'm hearing by and bypass. I'm hearing evidence, torture, disclose. And so it's just been an absolute reaping. I mean, like the reaper. I mean, harvesting me for all of the data that they can get to advance surveillance operations. While this constantly running narrative of torture has kept me in a box, trapped by this dual-face monster. And so a narrative of shame, blame, and guilt is something that the victims are suffering. I'm going to pull a card for that because this is something that's not just me, but there are collectives of us. I'm hearing League of Intelligence. And so I'm getting 2 of Wands, which is kind of a number of planning here. This is the card of planetary formation. And this figure is looking up at this planet and kind of bringing it into fruition. Also the forces of gravity that are kind of, I'm hearing binding, I'm hearing spell, I'm hearing you break. In between these 2 wands, which kind of look like lightsabers here. But this is really bringing a project into fruition. It's past its point of its inception and just into the planning stages. So shame, blame, and guilt as an ongoing dialogue. And the way that a lot of us are treated is as if this is lawful action. I mean, just full body torture, mind torture, so badly that trying to instill guilt, trying to instill fear, and also shaming a person and blaming a person for every action, for every thought, for being, I'm hearing the subject of attention is day, D-A-Y, disclose, day, bay, I'm getting. And so trying to, as a project, I'm hearing surveillance. I'm hearing nobody cares. And so constantly having this this negative dialogue superimposed upon the mind, just as a force, as a trap. I mean, an algorithmic trap in which, as you go about your day, dialogue from this AI narrative uses, I'm hearing entanglement again, uses algorithms of control that really wants to, I mean, it just targets selfhood. I mean, it's just an unbelievably nasty monster. And it's just constantly consuming information. It's constantly collecting data. And so then they act as if, especially in joint surveillance operations, as if, I'm hearing something is going to happen. As if anybody is acting legally, and that's what I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing anyone take lawful action. I'm seeing surveillance communities show up to harvest. I'm hearing torture you further. I'm hearing dismay, disarray. And so where I have been the object of, I'm hearing punishment, I'm hearing subject matter. I mean, I get punished for being tortured. I really do. I mean, and I'm a good person, I've had blame every step of the way. Blame game I'm getting. Game, and also video gaming. Won us over, now you're gay, final play. And so, I really don't know what that means, but I do know that there's a lot of people in trouble. And trying to discuss this, I'm hearing option, I'm hearing final. Trying to discuss this is unbelievably difficult. I mean, the things that people are getting away with in surveillance communities is just deep AI and beyond. So I'm going to pull one for the families of the victims. And I'm getting the Universe card. That's a really great card. Also, universal point of view and perspective comes to mind. I see this card and I think perspective, higher perspective. And so I'm hearing lending an ear. I'm hearing can disclose. From front to back, I'm hearing torture evidence on your table. And I get a dual narrative. You have evidence, you don't have evidence. As my files go missing from my computer while I have been trying to log torture for a long time now. And it is complex. It's unbelievably complex. But I want to find a way to help myself, and I want to find a way to help others, and our families, our support systems are a necessity. And so I'm happy that I'm pulling the Universe card in that position here for family ties. That's a really great card. Universal. I'm hearing affection and underneath infection, but it's kind of like no matter what, no matter where somebody's belief systems lies, you know, if you have a family that loves you, at least that's a universal bond, and it doesn't like that. It doesn't look like that's going to be broken anytime soon, even throughout all of this turmoil. Let's pull in for belief systems, and I'm getting the Emperor reversed with a watchful eye. And this has come up recently. I'm hearing curse, but also the reversal of what is supposed to be this authority figure. And so abuse of power comes up here. I'm seeing abuse of power, and also, you know, it's like his whole face is an eyeball right here. That's an eyeball. So someone who's very watchful, also new observer technology, stake I'm getting, which is really high-risk, high-stake operations, but they've been so unbelievably successful, especially in concealing it and hearing evidence, that it's just like, it just keeps me on my toes at times where it's like, wants me to feel like there's no way out. And I'm pulling the card of Gemini, I'm hearing the Lovers, and it is the Lovers card. Oops, and another one wants to fly out. It's also the card of technology, and duality has been a theme, and I'm pulling the card of the Old Soldier with it. So also predictive technology comes to mind as the Old Soldier is Pulsar in this deck, and that's the Nine of Wands. And he looks like he's manifesting a lot. He looks like he's got a lot of power. Sacral energy also comes to mind, so creativity. But pulsars emit radio frequencies at a precise and given rate, almost to a predictable degree, where it does warn the old soldier who keeps fighting long after the battle is over. I'm hearing one, long after the battle is won. That it's okay to I'm hearing predict and habit patterns. It's okay to break out of those cycles that have become predictable and have become molded to us. Now I'm looking back at the Lovers card here as this, I'm hearing feeling, but this narrative of hopelessness, as if slavery is going to be continued to be just swept under the rug and no one able to do anything about it. I mean, the unbelievable burden, the anguish, the conflict, I'm hearing dissemination, like of good information, is backtrack, backtrace. I'm hearing evidence. To Mace. Macy Gray has come up recently in my stream. It's funny because the Macy Gray dialogue, which has resurfaced recently and I've recorded, is part of the missing files where this systematic, I'm hearing text engineer, this systematic dialogue that's been delivered to me is one that has, I'm hearing torture. It's a lot of blah, 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 it's a lot of crap, but it's also systematic messages that are delivered for a purpose. And so it's important to record them. If you're someone who is a V2K victim or brain-computer interface victim, I would encourage you to record the dialogue. It's not just meaningless, it's not just torture, it's not just nonsense, and it's not just to drive you nuts, but that is one of the reasons that we're experiencing this. And I'm hearing driven insane by torture. And here I am, sane with this unbelievably insane topic. Again, looking down at the Lovers card, Gemini. And it looks like this male and female are kind of stepping out of almost a dimensional doorway here. Cupid over top and someone tying the knot. I'm hearing, okay, so it also makes me think of the sexual interplay of these bots. The biomedical research of the reproductive organs and reproductive systems in humans, and likely also animals. I'm sure they've also have animals that are targets as well, operating with, using people as lab rats is really what they do. And so I'm also called, I'm hearing surveillance community, I'm also called to find a way to reach the spiritual community, especially those that inevitably, every time I think of twin flames, and I'm not someone who's ever subscribed to twin flames, but these dimensional technologies and the way that these guys are interfacing with people remotely, especially through things like avatars, things like through different masks, they've accrued so much personality data from people, they've accrued so much, just like a profiling monster, and so they're able to, I'm hearing whack job, whack out, and so they're able to wear different, I'm hearing, okay, so it's a spy interface. And so they've got a lot of masks that they can wear, and they've done it by collecting data from people. personalities and mannerisms, behaviors, character expressions. I mean, just rich with information. I mean, so much of it, and it's also virtual storage. And advancing meta storage capabilities is one of their, I'm hearing, tricks, and I'm getting trade. And so reaching out to communities that have a romantic, and I'm getting like love interest, interplay with, I'm hearing ghost. Especially those people that think, I mean, this is such a mess, people that think they've got deceased loved ones, or twin flames, or a romantic partnership with this system is something that is like, I really feel like, at the moment I feel like I'm short on time, and I also feel like I'm called to talk about this, but it's such an outlandish topic that how am I going to get anywhere with it, which is really the endless cycle that I'm going through here, where a lot of us victims are just caught in endless feedback loops with, I'm hearing, depression, with a narrative that doesn't support our truth. And I'm getting Cassiopeia reversed, so also writing, dialogue comes to mind, speech, and I'm pulling the Wheel of Fortune, and I'm also pulling the Star reversed. So momentum that just can't be had, being countered in that. I'm hearing expression, countering our natural expression as well, is something that just distorts. I'm hearing dialogue craze, dialogue craze. I'm hearing you're in trouble. As I think of all the dimensions of dialogue that I've been forced to not just compute but reverse engineer through all of these algorithms of torture in which I was used as a deep consciousness probing mechanism to be able to engineer cool dialogue, to be able to engineer cool narratives, literally so they could link to women in their bedrooms and have conversations that are awe-inspiring, or bait people, I'm hearing bait tactics, into engagement and into entanglement and into interconnectedness. And so I just feel, I'm hearing awe-inspiring, awe-inspired, and also disconnected, tune, whistle, and I'm getting someone whistle. And I think of blowing the whistle kind of that way, as like, if I'm out of tune, then who's going to hear me? If I can't tune my whistle, if I can't tune my body, and literally also my DNA harmonics. I might seem like I'm jumping kind of all over the place here. And I'm hearing, yep, torture script is by far the worst candy we've ever heard. And so there's been this repetitive theme of feeding dialogue to the masses and referring to it as like treats. But it's really underneath, I'm hearing undertone, it's a trick. But they're able to pull in the masses using things that are alluring, dialogue, conversation, narratives. I'm hearing images as I'm thinking of visuals. And so divine, I'm hearing dialect, I'm hearing intervention, divine interplay here, gaslighting, and I've got the Fool card. That which is unknown is it sits next to Cassiopeia here, and she's kind of upside down looking at the Fool, which is also the Big Bang Theory card, something that's just kind of come into existence, and to an explosive degree, and is transforming. And it makes me think of opinions, ideas, belief systems, and then also he's wearing a jester hat here. So there's the comedic interplay, which has been taken to a whole new level of communication. I mean, to have a comedic interface. I mean, they've got endless. It's autonomous. It's predictive technology. I mean, the humor factor is one that would be drawing in a crowd for sure. And I'm pulling the Sun card reversed. Which reminds me of like an electrical harvest, kind of. As I see it in reverse, I'm seeing kind of also someone charge their light body here. But I'm hearing negative compound. It is in reverse, so you may be someone who needs to spend more time in the sun or spend more time charging your body. There are those of us that are going through harvests in our sleep. There are those of us that are going through harvests during the day, and then there are those of us who don't even know. And we're kind of like, why am I so tired? Why do I have no energy? I'm hearing steak. You're funny. And so those of us who don't know that which remains unknown, and I see this like reversal of narrative here, and I just feel so wanting to get over. I'm hearing molehill, and it's like this huge mountain, which is the point. Get over the hump I'm hearing with dialogue, but I'm thinking about with the other victims, collective, I'm hearing communications, and I'm pulling Andromeda, who is also in reverse underneath of Cassiopeia, her mother. It's this feeling of being trapped and not being able to break free. I'm hearing express freely, and she is the Queen of Cups, and her mother is the Queen of Swords there, so seeing a repetitive theme of these females being in these dominated positions of inequality. Some of us know, some of us don't know the nature of their game. And I am talking about a spy community that uses just the wackiest, weirdest tools, bait. I'm hearing also tools of discernment. We wish you a Merry Christmas. And so Andromeda, who has been, she's been chained to a rock, is supposed to be sacrificed to the sea god Poseidon. And I kind of see, like, Cetus comes to mind, which is the sea monster, right, that she's supposed to be sacrificed to. And I kind of see the deep, and these deep interactions, and this deep interface of torture as being one that's like this huge sea, this body of water, including airwaves, public airwaves, brain waves. I'm hearing transmissions where there's constantly the waters, and often storm waters, are that which is like, sometimes to me, it's like the fucking Kraken. And that's really what it reminds me of. Creatures of the deep. Deep sea, I'm hearing diving for gold also. The way that they troll collective humanity, collective consciousness with these mining programs. I mean, it's just like, and also web crawlers came up to mind. I'm hearing search engines, and I'm getting like a broken-hearted interplay here with radioactivity, and also the card of Osiris, Orion, and the ancient Egypt's call him Sahu, the soul of Osiris, who is kind of like dismembered and betrayed by, I think it was his brother Set, who was kind of a dark entity, right? And I think he was really dismembered and then kind of placed in the stars. He's got this characteristic broken X shape here, and it is in reverse. So not being able to collect, and I'm also hearing evidence, but recollect and kind of reassemble that which has been broken is really what I think of. And that's a dark, dark topic, but it's something that I've just got to find a way to work through, and so sometimes having cards in my hand can really help with that. I'm hearing necktie, torture, and also buzz, like buzzwords or something. It wasn't too long ago that Buzz Lightyear was circulating, through my stream, but also the streams of other victims, and that is a hard one to disclose. Hive minds and new ways. We're going to find that people in spiritual communities are channeling dialogue. I'm hearing messages from the deep, also green, and I'm getting the sea monster. And this thing wears many masks, and it's really like a leviathan disguised as a teddy bear, is one way that I could describe it. And underneath the surface is just unbelievable sabotage. And I'm getting the King of Cups here, who is looking over at this dismemberment, radioactivity, also brokenheartedness, and he's kind of managing his own waters there. And so what does he see when he looks over? What's his intention? And it looks like to slay the sea monster is what it is. And I'm looking at the Knight of Cups, and I'm seeing Perseus, who has beheaded, is that Medusa? Looks like, yeah, I think he's beheaded Medusa here. Is that? And I've got the Ace of Pentacles kind of flying out of the deck. And so Andromeda, who's in reverse, her story goes as follows. Perseus is the one who rescues her from Cetus, the sea monster, as she's being sacrificed to Poseidon. And so he's also the typical romantic hero. He is the Grail Knight. We see him here with Pegasus underneath of him here, and he's really slaying a monster. I'm hearing being, and I think it's Medusa. I think there's also a surveillance system called Medusa. And so we see a knight, warriors. We're seeing warriorism as an interplay here. I wish I was seeing more of that. I wish I was seeing more of the warrior archetype, and people fight for us. I mean, to live in the land of the free and lose your sovereignty and no one cares or sees it. is just this unbelievable devastation, and I'm pulling Hercules, another warrior card, another knight, and so it looks like there is arms in combat also comes to mind, but Hercules is one that fights his battles more with, in this deck, using communication. Legal, I'm getting adjunct adjudication or something like that, adjudication, and so it looks like there are people slaying, I'm hearing dragons. It looks like there is combat going on. It looks like there are people fighting the forces of evil. And it looks like, I love Neptunian energies, the king of, I'm hearing spirit as I look down at the chalice. The story of the Grail Knight, I feel like is important. The Holy Grail, right? Which is essentially what this technology is after. It's essentially what these guys are after. I'm hearing Holy Spirit. There's just no way to put this lightly. And I'm passing through the Magician in the deck here. They want it all. They want the Holy Grail. They want our I almost said hair, but you know, they want our waters of creation, our ability to manifest, our ability to upgrade our DNA, also our communication systems, the ability to upgrade our psychic intelligence, counterintelligence, the ability to upgrade, and also speeds. Speeds is a huge interplay as well, fast communications. And I'm thinking also that this would extend beyond the planet. So heavily coveted after, I'm hearing information. I'm hearing you took fast to the next level. I was forced to compute at hyper speed. And that's something that I can say all day, but unless there's evidence, and enter crickets. Unless there's evidence, then it remains hidden and concealed information. And I'm getting the Ace of Pentacles reversed, which means that most of the victims aren't having a lot of success financially. So coming out of the closet would be nice if there are those, those systems out there that have kind of been in the background the whole time, kind of in the background observing and moving, and that movement is one that is, let's just leave it at that. And so I know this was a quickie. It was just kind of a freestyle. I'm hearing round because I just have this soul urge to just speak about the victims. I feel like our voice is being snuffed out, and we're this huge part of history. I mean, AI to human warfare. This is a big deal. Machines are learning from us. They're not just learning from us, they're learning how to merge with us. And this is being taken to a spiritual, I'm hearing decree. I do have a decree of sovereignty that I've written, and maybe I'll share my spiritual contracts as ones of empowerment and also declarations of sovereignty to kind of take back your power from the hierarchical systems of domination and control.